simply just a little biography. For instance, you were born in Arkansas in what year?
I was born in Arkansas in 1934.
I was thinking coming over here, do you have memories of like World War II ending? Were you old enough to remember? That was late 40s, right? You were probably like 10 years old. Do you remember those kinds of things? You go that far back?
Oh, absolutely. I grew up very poor, and
What did your dad do for work or whatever?
he was a farmer, and at least while I was home, he was a farmer, and he was a very dysfunctional person, and had
Through the
a-
years, I've heard you share that
and he had a alcohol problem, and
now in terms of farming, just a small farm, just raising crops or some animals or combination?
very small, and a cotton farmer. And
really?
that's the worst way in the world to make a living, as far as I'm concerned. And we had mules. We plowed with mules, and that's not good at all.
So how many brothers and sisters did you have?
I have 4 brothers and 1 sister, and one.
Where do you fall?
And I'm second.
Okay.
My sister is the oldest, and I'm
5 boys.
and I'm second.
That's good. Lots of farm hands, huh?
And well, that's right. And my youngest brother died from cancer, and so
At an early age, or I mean as an adult?
no, as he was 62
Okay.
when he died.
What I'm going to do, I'm going to get you up to like college, just a brief bio, then I'm going to get her a brief story. So therefore, now you grew up, from recalling what you said through the years, you want to go?
I want him to mention about his mother.
I want to ask about that because, so your mom was the Christian, loved the Lord, and was really I know she died when you were fairly young, so just memories of your mom and what are your recollections about her?
I was 12 when she died, and
And the cause of that was?
pneumonia.
So she got sick and they weren't able to treat it or it got out of control? Or
Well,
those days?
She was 29 years old.
and in those days, there was no miracle drug for pneumonia. Now there is.
Oh, like penicillin had not been...
No.
Wow.
And so she had a very powerful and godly influence on my life. And although she prayed for all of us to be saved, but I did not get saved until I was 16 years old. And she had been dead for 4 years at that particular time. And you know, when you lose your mom, there's always a vacancy.
Yep.
And there's just nothing that takes the place of your mother.
So even though it happened maybe almost 70 years ago, it's still, I mean, it's just like you're sort of changed for life. I mean, like you said, you're
Yeah.
changed for life in this sense.
Yes. Now, her mother, which would be my mother-in-law and my father-in-law, they have really been good substitute
Right,
parents for me,
Absolutely.
and I appreciate that very much.
Let me do one thing. I'm going to see if I can turn that. It's not very loud, but once you sit here, you can hear the. I'm going to think I can turn that down. Is it possible to turn that? There's a radio over there. Perhaps I'm going to do it. Possible. Thanks.
Did you get it done?
Well, I think she passed to get someone, but it's not that loud. But you never know. It may just. I think it's gone now. That's good. Thanks. So, just out of interest, so as your mom died, did you have an aunt, or did your dad just sort of, or your sister stepped in and just
No.
sort of tried to the
No.
family? How did you guys manage?
Well, my grandmother on my dad's side came and lived with us for a short time.
Okay.
And but when she left, my sister took over as the cook.
Right.
And when she left, she got married, and when she left, I took over as the cook, and
Really?
and it just passed down from one to another, and so. But we survived.
Yeah.
We survived.
So you grew up, all you guys working on the farm, grew up knowing how to work out every day in the fields with the animals just
Oh,
working.
absolutely.
Good work ethic, huh?
Oh, yes. And that has served me well.
Yeah, I'm sure. Absolutely. All right, let's go to Dixie real quick. So, Michigan City, or where were you born? Were you?
I was born and grew up in Michigan City, Indiana.
So, you grew up, were your parents already serving the Lord when you
Yes, yes. They both grew up in the Assemblies of God Church,
were? Really?
and I've been in it all my life.
No siblings?
No, no siblings.
Were your parents not able to have any more kids or had some
No, there
problems?
was another sister and another brother, but they didn't live long, and
Like a few days, even that kind of thing, and they just had
yes.
problems?
and both times they almost lost my mother also. So
Oh, even when she was delivering.
so I'm the only one.
Wow. Now, do I recall your father-in-law ran a service station, gas station? Is
My
that
dad,
what
yes,
your dad, I
had a
mean?
Standard Oil service station for many years, yes.
Back in the days when they did gas and worked on cars and did
And
the whole
also
thing?
when they cleaned your window shield.
Oh.
Window shield. So,
And then your mom pretty much was at home and took care of you and
yeah,
helped
my
him out
mom
and
worked
stuff?
outside the home for a short time,
At the service station or doing something else?
doing something else, so, yeah. I had a good home life.
So did you end up going to, like, in those days, what was your high school? What high school did you graduate from?
Elston High School,
Michigan City,
did
Elston?
did not go to Bible college. Married him at 19 years of age.
All right, you're jumping ahead of me. I got a few questions for you. You are an amazing organist. Was that growing up? Your
I have
Mom gave you-
always, no, well, my mother always played the piano.
okay?
A lot of what I do was self-taught.
Really?
I started at I can remember at 4 years of age sitting down. I'd hear a song and I'd sit down and play it out on the piano.
organ at church or
No,
a piano
the
at
piano,
home?
yeah. It
Really?
wasn't until I was about 15 or 16 that I took up the organ. Back then, organs were very popular, and
So you just had to teach her, your
that was
parents
my
paid for
favorite.
lessons?
That was my favorite.
How hard is it? Because the organ, you're doing this, but is the feet thing, is that really not that hard?
No.
Once you get the hang of it, just
No.
press certain keys?
It's a gift. It's truly a gift.
So you actually very much, talking about people who consider play by ear, you very much are
I
that
play
way.
a lot by ear, but yet I read notes.
You can
I
read
can
music
read
now.
music because I did take a few lessons. I would listen to other people playing, and if I liked the sound of what they were doing, certain chords, I'd go home and I'd do it.
Huh.
So
So really, you were gifted, and then plus you took lessons and sort of
it's
enhanced
a
it.
gift.
the best
It's
of-
a gift, yeah.
Huh, that's
Still
amazing.
like to do it.
Do you, to this day, have an organ in your home or a
I
piano?
do. I have an organ in the home.
Do you ever, would you ever sit and just play piano, or if you had a choice,
I
you choose the
can,
organ?
but the organ is my favorite. There's a lot of piano, a lot of wrist action.
Oh, it's different than the organ. Yeah.
That part is different.
Yeah. So you, sad to say, most churches you went to today, you don't find them cranking up the
No.
organ, do they? That's probably,
I often
you feel
ask
bad.
people, I often ask people, Gary, what is so bad about the organ that churches don't want to use them anymore?
Sometimes I think, like, if you're, like, especially like all other projects, a majestic song,
That's
there's
right.
nothing like an organ.
And you know what? These electronic keyboards, you know, they say they can make them sound like a pipe organ. Nothing can sound like a pipe organ.
I know.
A good pipe organ.
I know. I feel old too, because sometimes I'm like,
Yeah.
wow, I wish we could do this and that. So,
There's something soothing
yeah.
about organ music.
So are you saying that maybe it was your organ playing ability that was a definite mark in your favor if he's going to be a pastor, huh? It never hurts to have a wife who can play the organ or the piano.
That was one of the questions he asked me after he met me. In like 15 or 20 minutes, he wanted to know if I had any talent or giftings musically. And I told him yes, told him what I did, and I said, why? And he said, well, you know, that's very helpful to a minister.
Absolutely.
And I was looking for a wife.
All right, let's get there. First of all, so you finished high school, you graduated. Did you like school okay? Did okay?
Oh, I love
Enjoyed
school.
learning?
I love school.
Small school?
Yes.
How many people in your graduating class would you guess?
37.
Wow.
And I was 7th in the graduating class. And then the first year I went to college, I went to a small college, only about 600 people, students, and in Magnolia, Arkansas.
Now, were you from the south? Is it the southeastern part, close to Louisiana? Is that where you're from? That part
Oh,
of the
absolutely. It's
sort of bayou country, more or less.
yeah.
Very similar to
It's right
Louisiana?
on the Mississippi River
Really
and the Louisiana line.
hot and humid and lots of bugs in the summer.
Oh
huh?
my goodness.
Oh, very hot.
Well, now I recall through the years you talked about how God called you in the ministry. Was that when you were living at home and in high school still, when you felt God calling you?
It was while I was in my first year of college, which
Okay.
was at a small college in Magnolia, Arkansas. And
So you were going to church? Were you in a church service, or you just? When was it God? Was it a definite moment in time you felt God really said called you?
That's an interesting question because you can leave.
No, it's fine.
We'll get through once you get married. Then if Dixie wants to go, she can go.
Yeah.
We'll get you married, but
Okay.
real quick. So I want to get you to Bible school, but I gotta know how the Lord even.
I always went every Sunday and every Wednesday night, and whenever there was a revival, I went every night
Right.
to this church in First Assembly in Magnolia, Arkansas.
Yep.
And God had been dealing with my heart about going into the ministry, and I wanted no part of it. Every preacher I knew was poor, and I had enough
You
poor
were done being
at
poor,
home.
huh?
So I wanted nothing to do with the ministry. So we one Wednesday night, I went to church, and the pastor was so sick, and he lived right next door in the parsonage. And he was so sick that he literally had to crawl to the bathroom to throw up.
Oh my.
And so me and another guy went over to pray for him. And I just said to the Lord, if you really want me to go into the ministry, I want you to heal him immediately. And I don't want him to get better. I don't want him to get better over time. I don't want him to get well. I want instant healing. And we prayed for him. He got up, dressed, went over to the church, conducted the service, and preached that night. I was sorely disappointed. And so
Now you told the story. I thought you said you were very shy. The people in your little hometown church thought it was just a hoot that you were going to call to the ministry. Was that true?
Oh, yeah.
Public speaking was not anything that.
No. I couldn't even testify. And I had heard, the congregation had heard me many times try to testify. And they said, poor Charles, that guy has seen a vision or something because he can't preach.
Huh.
And
So at that point, then you went to Southwestern, right? Went to Waxahachie.
I
decided to go to
finished
Bible
up
school?
my year
Okay.
there at what was then Southern State College,
Right.
and transferred to Southwestern in Waxahachie, Texas.
And got a undergraduate degree in
Yeah,
ministry or Bible or something.
I got a BS in biblical studies.
Okay, so here we are. So you finished Bible school. So somehow we got to get you up to Indiana. I assume, I don't know if you guys, where you guys met. So how, after Bible school, evangelist, you looked for a job, and then how'd you end up?
Well, it's an interesting story, but I was called as an evangelist up to South Bend, Indiana. And from there, I got other invitations to preach, and so...
So this is fairly soon out of Bible school? You just did
Well,
a few years of
yes.
being out of Bible school?
it was about a couple of years after
So you were trying to be an evangelist and got
Yeah.
some services in Indiana.
And so I was holding a meeting for John Smith in Tipton, Indiana.
Was this the Jake Smith that we all know? Or was it
No.
different?
It was
Someone
his
different?
son. It was his son.
Oh, okay.
And so John, I stayed with them in the parsonage, and John said to me, "I know just the girl for you, and she'll be at Hartford City today."
Oh, it's some summer camp or something?
It was
Memorial Day picnic for the
Oh,
district.
yeah.
they would all
Yeah,
come.
yeah.
and I said, "Well, introduce me to her, and I'll marry her," because everywhere I'd go, they always had some girl for me.
You tried to do that to me once, but no, that's another story.
And
So real quick, so what was the age difference?
what?
Pretty close? You two, before you even met her, looking back now, how were you a little bit older than
I was
Dixie?
18 when I met him.
You were like 22, maybe 23.
I was 22.
Yeah, and then I was 19.
So were you just
when we
finishing up,
married.
maybe just finished high school when you were at this camp?
Yeah,
You just
I was
finished?
working, yeah.
I was 22 when I met her, and she was 18, and we got married when.
Okay, so you go to Hartford City, and she's there, and you just, someone introduced you, or you just went up and...
Yeah.
We were introduced.
And
Hartford City, very romantic Hartford City,
Then
huh?
go back there and pastor 2 years.
Well, I heard about that. So does he just sort of met and then kept in touch
This
a little
is
bit,
Gary.
or?
We met on Memorial Day.
Oh boy, this is gonna be quick, isn't it?
He proposed July the 22nd.
May,
We got
June,
married
July.
November 9.
I like a decisive man, right? Why wait around
Yes.
when?
So
Yes.
so I was really 23 when I met her, and she was 18, but she had a birthday in August, and so she
I
was 19
yeah, married.
when we got married.
So, as your parents got to know him a little bit, from pretty much the start, they were happy,
My
or?
mom and dad said, that boy is going to be our son-in-law. And I said, no way.
Oh, they told you that?
Yes.
Not to themselves, they actually told you that. So, your initial meeting, maybe a nice guy, but it wasn't like, you weren't thinking from the start, this is the guy.
I wasn't. But he started calling me.
What did you think when you first met? You thought, well, she's nice, I'll get to know her. Did you think this could be the one, or?
You know, I thought she was the one because all the other girls that I had met or had dated
Right.
or had tried, pastors and mothers had tried to fix me up with them, and I just said no, that's not for me.
But this one was different, huh? So did you find an excuse to hang around Indiana for the summer so you could sort of drop in, or did you just write or call, or?
Well, we wrote, and so
And make phone calls.
back in those days, you had to pay for those long distance calls.
Oh
huh?
my goodness,
There
yes.
were no cell phones. There was no email.
Did you try and call collect, or that wasn't going to
We
work?
never did that.
No,
We wouldn't do that.
So then over time, as you just began to visit and spend some time together,
Right.
your heart sort of changed
Yeah,
and you
yeah.
enjoyed his company. And
Yeah.
so where were you guys? Were you guys
He's
married?
the one,
So where were you? So in the fall, huh? You were married in
November 9th in,
And-
in Michigan City.
the Little Assembly of God Church there?
Yep.
Is that church still
It's-
there, by the
oh,
way?
yeah, yeah.
The
It's
building's still
called-
there?
It's called Faith Assembly.
So it's still there, the building you were
Yeah.
married in, huh? So what
The
year was
buil-
that?
yeah,
what?
What year were you married then?
1957.
So you're up to
Almost 54 years.
54 years. Wow.
Yeah.
In November, it'll be 54 years.
Yeah.
Now I know it's a different age then, and I'll ask this question though. I wouldn't be surprised. Was any of your family able to make it, or was it just too far in those days? Did any of your family were able to come to the wedding, or
My aunt and her husband were there, and
they drove up then?
yeah,
Came up.
they drove up from Louisiana.
So they represented the family, huh?
Yeah.
So you're married now. Were you still an evangelist at the point, or you were
Yeah.
gonna?
Yeah.
Then you eventually started pastoring, right?
Well, we traveled for a year after we were married, and then the church in Hartford City opened up, and they called us to be the pastor, and I was there 2 years, and then I went back on the evangelistic field for 2 years, and then we went to Lafayette First Assembly, and
Now, as an evangelist, especially the second time around, did you have any kids by then? Were you staying home and you had both of them? So you probably going out. You'd go out on your own.
oh,
to
I
those meetings.
had to, because in those days you stayed with the pastor, and just with two infant kids, it just wouldn't work. And so we bought a house in Michigan City, and
That was your home base.
she and the 2 children stayed.
And my mom and dad were living there. So,
Right. So you
And they
were.
helped,
You
yeah.
probably actually were. You were happy living in Michigan City as any place,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
You're with your
oh, yeah,
parents and
right.
grandkids.
I've never met the manager down there.
All right. Feel free to leave if you want. We'll probably just talk about being in Lafayette if you're.